Okay, so this is an interesting one because today we're talking about something that a lot of people struggle with in some way, form or another, and we call that addiction. Now, when you hear the word addiction, people just assume, oh, drugs, gambling, but addiction comes in many forms. And once you understand what addiction actually is, it's not what most people think it is unless you've experienced it. Addiction usually comes from deep-seated trauma. It could be genetic, it could be trauma-based, like we said. It could be something's caused this addictive behavior, and we're going to look into addiction and try to unravel it. But one thing we do know about addiction, that is very destructive, and the best person or people to speak to about addiction is people who've experienced it. We've got a guest with us today who's experienced addiction for 25 years, which is inevitably caused huge loss, because addiction takes everything away from you. And I don't know you guys at home if you've experienced addiction or you know someone who's going through it, but hopefully this video will shed some light onto that and help you understand what it's all about. Again, what you're about to hear is graphic, and I want you to be aware of that. It might be upsetting and just very distressing, so also be aware of that as well. And if you're not of a certain age, I would not continue to watch this video. You have been warned. So I've got my guest with me now. He's here at the side of me, and just before we start, this is Thomas. Okay, Thomas, before we start, mate, you can hear me, can't you?
Yes, sir.
Nice and clear, good stuff, right? Okay, this is just for legal reasons. I just have to read this out to you. So before we begin, I just want to confirm, just for this recording, that this conversation is based entirely on your own personal experiences and opinions, and you understand this interview is being recorded and will be published publicly on this YouTube channel, and you give full permission for it to be used and shared. And are you happy to proceed with this?
Yes, sir. Completely.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to come back. Again, this video is not being edited in any way. What you're about to hear is done on one take. This is the first time I'm hearing it as well. So with that said, we're going to get this the story revealed, and we're going to hear Thomas's story starting right now.
Analyzing the news.
Right, okay, so here he is now, our guest for today, which is Thomas. We had a few problems, didn't we, mate, setting it all up?
Yes, sir.
Right, because he's got a fancy mic there. Can you see it? It's called a lavalier mic, that little microphone there. But we had problems at first because he couldn't hear a word I was saying. But anyway, it's not really about me. It's about you and your story. So, are you all right, mate? Yeah?
Yes, sir. I'm feeling good. Feeling good today.
And where about in the world are you? Where about?
I'm Denver, Colorado, United States.
Wow. Okay. And what's it like living in the States now? Is it as bad as it seems on the news? Because we hear all this toxic information. But you live there.
It's pretty wild. I try not to watch the news because that seems like all there is trauma and drama, and you know it's kind of depressing when you watch the news nowadays. But yeah, it's not too bad. I guess the whole ICE immigration thing kind of took over for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's imagine it's just like anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go looking for trouble, you'll find it.
Absolutely. It's like anywhere. You can find trouble in paradise. Look at Adam and Eve. They were in the Garden of Eden. That was perfect. And then they started talking to Satan. Well, bloody hell. Can't go anywhere, can you?
That's it, right?
It is. But anyway, okay, we're going to get cracking. So what we're going to do, mate, we've got like an hour and a half with you, which was fantastic for you to share your story. Again, I don't know what you're about to say. I've got a basic, slight understanding of where this is going to go, but that's about it, because you've written a book on this, which goes into a lot more detail. But today we're just going to sort of hear your story. So if you will, mate, can you just sort of start from the beginning? So tell me what you were like at 5 years old, and we'll kind of start from there if it's all right, mate.
Sure. Well, I guess let me start from 9 months old. My parents gave custody of me and my sister to my grandparents on my father's side. And at an early age, I always had that thought of why me? Why can't I have a mom and dad? Or what was it me that caused that? So at an early age, I had a lot of questions and a lot of, I guess you want to say, kind of animosity towards life. Period. Um, and as I got older, both of my grandparents, they worked to make sure that they gave me and my sister a fairly good life. Um, and they taught us right for wrong, but what they could not teach us was the power of presence, being present in somebody's life because they did have to work full time jobs. So, about the age of 14, I started looking for guidance from older guys that were already into illegal activity, selling guns and drugs. And that's who I looked up to at that age. Sad to say, but very influential part of my life. I started looking up to the wrong crowd. Um,
Can we just rewind a little bit there, Thomas, if you will, mate? So you're living with your grandparents, and they're great, they're good, they're doing a good job. Okay, they brought their own kids up, now they're bringing their grandkids up, which is hard,
right,
but they're doing it and they're good. One thing you said, was it you and your sister?
correct.
And was your sister older than you or younger than you?
Yes, sir. She's 3 years older.
So she's like, did she look out for you being the big sister? Was that what it was like?
She did to a certain point. Um, but like I said, around age 14, she started, that's about her senior year.
Yeah,
And that's about time that she started more or less going towards college.
yeah,
And she's done very well in her life. Um, she's never faced addiction. Um,
mm,
she's actually very, I'm proud of her.
yeah.
She's done well in life.
So
Um,
with you, you've got you and your sister. You're living with your grandparents. You said one thing your grandparents didn't really teach you was being present. So what do you mean by that when you said present?
well, so the power of presence to me is just being there around somebody, and that's bigger influence than a lot of times than words can be. Um, there's a lot of moments in life where things happen just from being present. Um, there's a lot of moments in life that you miss. You can schedule to go to a sporting event, you can schedule to go to a concert, but it's those little things in life I find now that you miss. Like if I was having a bad day, I didn't have nobody to talk to. So who did I turn to? I turned to these guys that, like I said, they were already in illegal activity. So if I was having a bad day and needed somebody to talk to, they said, "Hey, here, smoke this marijuana and let's talk about it." And next thing I know, I'm selling guns with them. Um,
So
you know,
this sort of happens later on when you're like 14 years old. But when we go back to when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this sort of period, you still
yes,
it, it's different when you're a little kid to a teenager, because when you're a teenager, stress and hormones are everywhere.
right.
And then you've got society, you've got school, and you've got this stuff, and you want to talk to people. Like you said, you need someone to talk to, like a parent.
Oh yeah.
So your grandparents, when ever were they not like that? Were they not? Were they not?
No, so they both work full time. Um,
Yeah,
I guess what you consider here in the states, they kept us at a um, middle level of financial stability,
yeah,
supplying me and my sister with fairly good clothes, decent clothes, different. Never went hungry. at that age. But there was a lot of isolation time whenever I look back when you speak on prior to my teenage years, watching TV by myself, a lot of isolation as far as that goes. And there wasn't much, I would just say, there wasn't much strictness as far as making sure I did my homework or
Yeah.
studying for my spelling bees or, there wasn't, they just weren't around to do that. Um,
So
and I
because they
think
were,
that's very vital.
yeah. So I'm trying to see the picture. So basically, you come home from school, but they're not. When you say they're not present, they're kind of absent. They're not really there. They're there in the background working, but emotionally, they're not there. So you're getting your food, your clothes, and all that. But if you're
Right. They
upset or
might
you,
not get home. They might not get home until 8 or 9 o'clock. And by then I'm usually, at an early age, I was knocked out, usually passed out sleeping. Um,
so would you find yourself a lot of the time as a child in the house on your own with just your sister,
correct. Yes,
right?
sir.
So there was no supervision really. There's no parents to say, right. So you again
Exactly.
that isolation. You've got no boundaries. You're a little kid, right? So
Right.
you can sort
Exactly.
of see now, can't you? People can sort of see,
Yes,
right? I
sir.
can see where this is going. You've got no one to,
Right. And I think that is a very popular way of raising kids nowadays. I mean, it's
mm,
not easy for one person to raise a family with a job.
yeah,
Uh, and that's sad as it is, it's very true. Um, but that's why I definitely say power of presence is very
yeah.
needed in a child's life nowadays. Um,
Even in adult life, we have to sort of be present, don't we?
yes,
So,
sir.
so,
Yes.
so when you're at school, you sort of coming home to an empty house. There's no consequence to really anything you do. So you could sort of do what you want. Not that you want to, but you could do, and no one's gonna because they're busy at work. So what were you like at school? This is like primary school. Did you act up? Did you? Because you have
No, sir. I was pretty reserved.
yeah
I would have to say I was pretty reserved as far as acting up or getting in trouble. Um, I made it through school pretty good grades,
mm,
elementary school, and once I reached middle school, I enjoyed sports, so that kind of kept me in good graces with my grades. I mean, that motivated me to do better as far as
right
my grades. Um, so yeah, I leaned on basketball and football a lot
right okay,
to
and you were good at
stay
that.
steady in school.
Well,
Um,
that's how you survive in school, isn't it? If you're good at sport, you usually become
that's
popular.
right.
It's true. All the popular
Exactly.
kids are good at sport. So just get. That's what I tell
Very
my kids:
true.
get good at sport.
That's very true. Very
So
true.
school's pretty all right then, because you sort of you're in a group, you're in with the sports lads. You play. You've
Yes, sir.
got the lads playing football and basketball, soccer as you call it in America, is it? So you've got mates. Yeah, you're just typical lad.
Right, right.
But
Yeah, I mean,
again,
I was rather, I wouldn't say the most popular kid, but I was, I had a good group of friends,
yeah,
um, and was able to go, sleepovers and hang out with some group of friends every on the weekends or get a game of pickup basketball somewhere. I
yeah.
mean, so trouble. I really didn't get in no trouble during my school years. Um, I feel like that was a pretty good time in my life. But like you said, I didn't have much supervision or guidance to let me know that the decisions I was going to make then was going to affect me the next day or even worse further down my my life. And
Did you?
so
It's all right, mate. What we're doing we're slowing it down because I know you want to sort of go forward, and it's
oh,
very hard. Oh, what's that? The lights are
the
going.
light went out.
What happened then? Well, it looked like a nuclear bomb went off then.
I'm sorry about that.
Don't worry, mate. So again, so you're there. You're a child. You've got a child mind. You've not hit that teenage puberty stage yet. This is when the
Right.
emotions kick in. Because when you said, "Well, I was 14," and 14's like that age, isn't it? that we all go through.
Very,
I went through it,
yeah,
mate. We all go through it. It's horrible. I hated it because you don't know who you are, what you
yeah,
are, and you think you know everything,
exactly.
and you're confused,
Oh yeah,
and you're resentful, and you're angry. And
yes,
I imagine now, because you'll start questioning things that you don't know the answer to. Because when you're a little kid, you sort of accept things. So now, as you're getting older, are you starting to think about your biological parents and starting to
yes, sir.
question things? Yeah,
Even more so.
yeah,
You start realizing what I guess the birds and the bees a little bit,
yeah,
and
yeah,
realizing like, why don't I have my dad and my mom here with me at PTA meetings
mm,
or school meetings, when they and some of the kids are kind of cool and they like to pick on you about that, you
yeah.
know what I mean? So that kind of hit the heart a little bit sometimes. Um,
Did you ever speak to your grandparents about this and just say, listen, t- and ask questions about your biological parents and why
I
did?
did, I did, definitely did. My grandparents, they pretty much kept it pretty level with me as far as look, your parents just didn't get along. My dad was a over the road big truck driver,
Yeah,
so he was all across the United States, and my mom, for whatever reason, she had her issues too. Um, I'm not sure what extent that was, but yeah, I didn't see very much of them growing up.
mm,
Um, but my grandparents were, they never talked bad about them or refused me or my sister to see my parents.
right,
Um, they were very supportive of that, actually.
right. Well, that was good. That shows that they obviously care about you.
I mean, they were the prime example of love.
Yeah,
My grandparents.
but you don't see it when you're a kid, do you? It's only when you look
Yes.
back you think. So did you have contact with your parents while you were living with your grandparents? Did you?
Um, Not very much.
Mm,
Um, Very rare. Maybe a couple birthdays and some Christmases.
yeah,
It seems like the holidays were that was the highlight of the holidays.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, looking back on it, it wasn't as frequent as I wish it would have been.
yeah.
You know.
And it can be kind of awkward as well because now your parents really your grandparents. So your biological parents are more. There's like a distance, isn't there? Would you say you sort of don't know how to
Yes,
be around
it's kind
them?
of like having an aunt and an uncle. You know what I mean? That you
Yeah.
didn't see very much.
And what was your
But
sister? Your sister because she's sort of she's in the same situation as you, but she's a girl and she's a little bit older. How was she? Was she different when you were kids?
she was more the how would you say it? I guess the smarter of the two as far as book sense.
Yeah.
She indulged herself in school. She was in the band, a cheerleader, um, and she already had her heart set on going to college
Yeah.
and being a pilot. Um, so she had made up her mind at an early age that that's what she wanted to do.
Right.
Um, and where she wanted to be a pilot, I wanted to be in the NBA, be a basketball player.
Yeah. A typical kid,
But
isn't it? Yeah.
right, so but yes, sir. She actually she excelled very well in school.
Mm.
She maintained a 4.0 throughout, um, and then ended up going to college in Florida.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess they say girls mature faster than men.
Yeah.
I tend to agree on that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Um, that's
100%.
a prime example of it.
Yeah. So like your sister's more. She's got more of a focus in her life. But with you, you're more
Yes,
like, well, you're not really focused on stuff. You're like, well, no one's listening to me. But from there, she was like focused on a goal. So that got her through it. But with you, you weren't as focused as she was, which is all right. That's typical boy. You're still a kid. So you're looking
yeah.
around and she's looking
I
straight
guess you could
ahead.
say she had she knew what her identity was
Yeah.
a lot sooner than I did.
Yeah.
Um, and I she she knew what her passion was in life
Yeah.
a lot sooner too, you know. And that definitely helps. I feel like if you can find your passion and pursue that, and that is motivation within itself, I feel. Um,
No, absolutely. It's like me. I've got, well, I did have. I've got a sister who's older than me. Which I haven't now. She died, but she was 2 years older than me. Brought up exactly the same. Completely different people.
wow.
Completely
Right.
different. And I was sort of like you a little bit. I was like, well, I've got questions. But then when I hit like 35, 36, then I started to really start focusing my attention. So, like you said, boys don't mature as quick as women, girls. It's true.
Right.
Men never grow
Absolutely.
up. They have when
Absolutely.
we're kids, we have toys. Then when we become men, we have tools. Or like we play with trucks, and when we're older, we drive trucks. We don't grow up. Um,
Right.
but that's
Yeah. I mean,
nature, isn't it?
it's a struggle, but
Yeah.
you don't really think of that when you're doing it. You know what I mean?
No.
You're just it's kind of a live by the day and go by the night thing. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
do what's fun at the time.
So there you are,
You
right?
know?
You sort of get into your teenage phase now. You're starting to come from child, little kid, little boy to adolescence. The phase.
Yes.
It's usually around 14 it really kicks in, and that's sort of the period when it really kicked in for you. The shift, the emotional shift. Your hormones are everywhere. Now you don't want to listen to your grandparents, even if they're willing to be all ears. You're like, not interested now. I'm looking somewhere else. And I imagine there was no other sort of adult people in your life that you could look up to. So where else do you look? You've got your peers, haven't you? Either kids your age or older kids. And so what happened with you then?
So, like I said, I started looking up to some older people in my neighborhood, um, and they were involved in selling drugs and guns. Um, I recall my first time they sold me a gun for $40, and I took it down the street to another guy and sold it for 120. So,
And how
you
old
know,
were you?
that's
Sorry, mate. How old were you
14,
then, Thomas?
14.
14.
Yes,
But you don't really think about what you're doing, but you're basically dealing in guns, aren't you? So, but you don't see it like that. You think, oh, I've made a few quid here, a few
exactly.
dollars.
Exactly. Now I don't have to worry about getting, if I can get those shoes that I wanted for basketball, I can go buy my own, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so yeah, that's a tough thing to really process when you're that age, and that's really what you see going on around you in your neighborhood.
And do you know these fellas, these blokes, these older kids? I don't know if you remember, but you're 14. How old are these elders? The
They're 18 to 20.
right. And did
They're
you
out of school.
and did you approach? I don't know if you can remember this, but did you approach them or did they approach you?
Well, so there's a basketball court in our neighborhood, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much where everybody hung out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I knew him for a couple of years before that, maybe 2 or 3 years playing basketball with him and football and the neighborhood things.
Yeah.
But like I said, as we got older, they were the first to be driving cars, and they would have the girlfriends that everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they got phones, or not phones, but money, and because phones weren't even
Yeah.
around back then, but they got all the newest, everything that a kid wants. You know,
And what
um,
generation what year is this roughly?
so this had to be 1990ish, 92.
Yeah. So technology wasn't a thing, was it?
Right,
So
right. I don't even think the internet came out yet.
no, it was. I think it was sort of 97. Phones started
96,
really becoming
97.
popular in 1998.
Correct.
So years
Right.
later. But yeah,
But yeah,
so
this was still where your parents or kids, they hung out outside for
yeah,
5, 6 hours a day. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't like today where they just stay in front of a PlayStation or a
yeah.
computer.
Wasn't like that.
You know,
You just walk
so
around looking for trouble because there's nothing to do. As I say, we all did it.
exactly.
It's not like now. You're like where I live, you don't see kids playing out. I'm like, where are all the kids? They're all stuck in on. In a way, that's a good thing, but that
Right.
generation, that my generation, same as yours, different. You you've got to stimulate yourself. So you're playing on the basketball court. Something bad's going to happen at some point. It's
Yes,
inevitable,
sir.
isn't it? And then you're going to get up to mischief. And
Definitely is.
again, with you, it was guns, and you thought I can make some
Right.
money here, a few dollars.
Man, you let a kid make 40, pay 40 and make 120 in half hour. I mean,
Yeah,
that's really tempting. You know what I mean?
that's a lot of
Um,
money even now, but back then
yes, sir.
that is a lot of
Yes,
money.
sir.
Low, and it feels like low
That,
risk. Just do it, no problem.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
mean, it happened, like I said, within 30 minutes, I had $120 in my pocket. And I think at that time, that was probably the most I've ever had that I could call mine,
yeah.
you know? Um,
So do
so
you know?
yeah,
Look,
that was,
do you know? Looking back, I know I'm slowing it down, mate, but that because it's important when we go to the seed, isn't it?
right, right, definitely.
So you're there. You've made some money. You think, hey, oh, I can get some trainers. I can get more than that. I can get cigarettes. I can get alcohol. I can get anything I want. And so, how do you sort of hide that from your grandparents? Or were they still busy doing their own thing, so they didn't notice? Or did they notice?
Right. I mean, you know, I would buy, like you said, at that time, I wasn't even smoking cigarettes. I think I hid that money pretty well for a while, in the old sock drawer, you know. I remember I had about $460 saved up at one time just from selling the guns. Um, and we went, me and my sister went somewhere, and well, not accidentally, but I pulled it out to buy something, and she she kind of got excited about how I had so much money, and actually told my grandma about me having that money, and I at that time I acted like it was no big deal, but to my grandparents that was a very big deal, and rightfully so. Um, a kid at 14 shouldn't have that much money just from nowhere. But yeah, they ended up taking. I remember my grandparents took it and gave me $20, and said, "We'll hold on to this for you until we feel like you need it." And they tried to tell me I couldn't go down to the neighborhood basketball court for a while, but like I said, they weren't really there. So after school, I'd go to the house, throw my book back down, and run back out there. You know what I mean? Play basketball, and
Yeah.
more and more trouble started to find me, or I started to find it.
Did your sister know how you got the money? Did you tell her because you sold a gun?
Um, she knew.
Yeah.
I think word had got around to her from other people in the neighborhood that I was hanging out with some people that she already knew about.
Yeah.
Um, and she scolded me pretty good about it. But you know, I would have to say that my grandparents and my sister, they were never like the violent type where they would hit you or
Yeah.
abuse you in that type. Their words were pretty strong, pretty powerful. Um, so yeah, I felt like I had kind of let them down, but at that time of life, it was too enticing, I guess you would say.
Because when you're going home and your grandparents are sort of what felt like they were nagging you and just shouting at you and trying to
Right.
control you, and then you go to the basketball court and the lads are like, "Hey, they're giving you respect." You're like, "Oh, I like
Right.
this
Wow.
freedom."
You painted that one just right.
Yeah,
That's
but you're
exactly
gonna go
how it
towards
was.
because you think that's attention, love. Oh, I'm accepted here. I
Correct.
can be myself. I'm not going to be told what to think, do. If anything, I'm encouraged to
Right.
do more of this. So
Yes,
with
sir.
these lads, you're sort of chilling out with them, you're relaxing with them. Do they then start making more suggestions to you about getting involved in more criminal activity?
Um, Not really more or more intense. It was just more frequent, I guess. and started smoking marijuana on a daily basis and starting to learn the drug trade, if you want to call it, um, at that age. Um, so that's just like you said, you kind of feel like, now I got these people's respect or acceptance, and everybody else is doing it. And, you go to school with a little bit of marijuana, and now you're the cool kid. Um, and luckily, I mean, I have to say I was very lucky not to actually get caught in school with anything illegal. Um, and I'm very fortunate for that.
And do you know when
So
you're, do you know when you're at school? Because now you sort of shifted now because your personality is going to start changing because now you feel like I've got a bit of power, me. I've got lads I'm banging about with who are older than me, so I feel confident. More, no one can really hurt me because I've got backup here. So did you kind of dissociate from your schoolmates a little bit? Because it was a different. It's different, isn't it? You've got your mates at the basketball court, and you've got your classroom
definitely did,
mates, the two different categories. Did that kind of sort of
definitely did,
shaping you a little bit?
definitely did. Yes, sir. Yeah. So I would have my schoolmates at home. I mean, at school, of course, and then whenever I got home, it would be the older crowd that we did things that other schoolmates weren't doing, um, such as going to downtown and actually going to a strip club. When I remember I was maybe 15 going into my first strip club, that you were supposed to be 18,
Yeah.
you know, um, which is not, those are things that I'm not glorifying. I am not trying to,
No.
I'm actually just sharing this out of respect for my story and letting people know.
The
Like
thing
I
is, mate,
say, I think,
you're a kid. When you were
yes, sir.
15, 14, looking back, you're like, oh, I get it now. I
Right.
thought I was in control, but I wasn't. And now you want to impress these older lads because you want to fit in. There's things you didn't want to do. You didn't. I don't want to go to a strip club. I'm 14. I'm not into all that. Right? It's
Right.
embarrassing.
I mean, that was a cool thing to do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You say, oh, hang
It
about
was,
they're doing it. I want to fit in with them because you want to be accepted. You want to get in the gang, don't you? The group.
course,
You want to be
of course.
liked.
And growing up, like I said, without a without my mom and dad per se, it was kind of you kind of get the outcast stigma growing up like that. So once you find a acceptance in a group, you kind of embrace it. You know. Um, so yeah, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head on painting that picture of just wanting to be in a family or a group setting where it's you
So
know
you're there. I'm I'm just trying to get this picture. So you're there. You now you're basically with these lads most of the time. Is that right? You're spending a lot of time
yes,
with
sir.
this new crowd, and you're going out in the cars with them. Is that right? You're going to strip clubs. You're getting heavy. You're
Yes,
getting deeper into their world now, and you're thinking, all right, this is all right. This
yeah,
it gives me something to do. I feel accepted. Now my family,
yes,
this is separation now. This is my new family. My loyalty is sort of with
definitely,
these guys now.
definitely was. And I recall being, like I said, about 15 or 16, and staying out all night without even corresponding with my grandparents, and heaven forbid what they actually thought or were scared of, or you know. But yeah, I remember not even coming home until about noontime the next day, and like I said, we didn't have cell phones back then,
No.
so it's not like they could have called me and find out where I was.
Yeah.
Um, but I just didn't. I got to this point of trying to satisfy or get that approval from the older crowd that I was hanging with, more so than worrying about the stress I was causing on my grandparents.
Yeah. So
Um,
the crowd's more important than your grandparents now.
definitely was.
Yeah.
Definitely was.
So do you think, looking back, were they grooming you? Would you say?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes, sir.
And that's how it
Yes, sir.
works, isn't it? That's how it
Yes, sir. I
works.
mean, they first ones to show me the movie Scarface. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, there are some movies in there that they thought were awesome, and when I watched them, I said, "Wow, this is what life is really about." You know,
yeah,
and in hindsight now, I would definitely not let you know support somebody watching that at an early age and thinking that that's what you should strive to be.
yeah.
You know,
It's
there's so
crazy,
much
isn't
more
it?
in life.
I remember when I watched Scarface, I was like, oh, I want to be like him. You do, because it's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
he's got power, he's got the money, he's got the girls, he's got respect, he's fearless.
Yes,
But
sir.
that's not
Yeah, I mean,
reality. That's yeah,
who doesn't cheer for the underdog? You know,
yeah. So there you are. You're
but
15, 16, now like 17. Are you still kind of rolling with these lads, this group?
yes, sir. So at 16, 17, I got my first car, and so now it was even more. Um, how would you say it? It was even more of my time spending with them. Um, I did graduate high school, um, and I actually had a basketball scholarship to go to college, but I got introduced to cocaine between my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, and ended up missing 19 days of my first semester of college, and my scholarship got revoked. Um,
Yeah,
so that was a very missed opportunity. I feel,
yeah.
you know.
That there you go.
Um,
There's the first thing it's just took from you. Because to get a
yes,
scholarship at college to do basketball, without pondering on that now, because hindsight's a great thing, but that would have took you in a completely different direction. But
I
that's
I
what the ducks
completely
do,
agree
isn't
on
it?
that. Yes, sir. That was a pretty tough time. Actually accepting that because, like I said, since I was a little kid, that was a dream of mine.
Yeah.
But like I said, cocaine. I got introduced to cocaine, and when I got introduced to it, I was pretty much given a good pile of it, and they said, "Here, go sell this and make you some money." And one thing led to another, and next thing I know, that's become my routine. My identity was selling cocaine and have my own apartment, and yeah, it spiraled into a pretty fast addiction as far as my desire to do more cocaine than I actually sold. And that was the early stages of a harsh road on addiction.
So you're there. Again, it's that saying is it don't get high on your own supply, but it goes hand in hand. If you're, it's a very, what you're doing is obviously there's a level of excitement, but there's also a level of paranoia, fear, fear of the cops, fear of other people. So
Definitely.
you want to keep your frame high, your state. So I'll take some Charlie Coke. So you're like I say, you end up sniffing most of it that you're selling.
Right.
So on what level would you say you were when you were selling? Were you selling bits of it, or was
Um,
this?
so the first time, like I said, the first time I actually even did any, one of my buddies from the neighborhood
Mm,
gave me 4 ounces of it,
wow.
and said, "Here, make you some money." I said, "I don't even know how to do this." So I remember probably most of the night, as we were getting high, he explained to me how to measure it, weigh it, sell it. Um, Actually called some people and said, "Hey, this is going to be your new guy you talk to." And I said, "Okay, seems pretty easy." But little did I know, Mr. Johnson, the road it would take me on.
Because you're there, it's not. You can't just now. If you're selling, there's other dealers, aren't they? Now you're taking away their business, and
Right.
now there's going to be a bit of a war, isn't there? So you're
Yes, sir.
you're approaching other people's clients, customers, That
Right. Well, like I said, he actually called some people and said, "Hey, I want you to mess with this guy, and not call me no more for it." Um, and if you want to call it that, he was trying to get rid of the smaller people and just deal in a bigger amount.
yeah,
So yeah, he kind of turned me on to a few customers, if you want to call them that. But and luckily they were loyal to a certain point as far as not trying to rob me or steal from me. But and like you said, that sense of power, that sense of I'm the man, kind of takes over. You know what I mean?
yeah, you feel indestructible. What we're going to do, mate, I'm just going to divert a little bit, only because I know it's hard what you're talking about. You're telling your story really well, but I know it is difficult. You wouldn't think it the way you're saying it, but I know it is, because it's what the outcome, it ruins your bloody life. But I remember when I was younger, I had a mate and I was 18. He started, he was buying weed and all this off this fella in the next town. And then the fella said, "Oh, do you want to buy a big amount?" And this was only marijuana. And he said to me, "Have you got $80 towards it?" And I said, "Well, buy a big chunk. We put $80 together. We can get a big thing and we can sell it to." And there was a market for it. And I knew we could sell it dead easy. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know," because I was a bit apprehensive. But he was a nice lad, right? This lad, my mate, he was 18.
Right.
He said, "Well, I'm going to do it then." And he said, "Can I borrow 80 quid?" I'm like, "I'm not borrowing you $80. It's pound in England." And I said, "Oh, mate." He said, "Oh, come on. I've got to be careful what I say." But anyway, he bought this load of marijuana, right? And he sold it like that. Within 5 minutes, it was gone. He's
Exactly.
made his money back tenfold. It was so quick, right? And he was like, "Wow." Even I was like, "Wow." And all this cash. And I said to him, "I need to borrow some money." I said, "Can you borrow me $10?" And he was my best mate. And he said, "Yeah, go into my flat." Because we worked on a holiday camp. And that's who we were selling it to, all the staff at this holiday camp. There was thousands of staff. And he said, "The money's under the mattress." So I had a key to his flat, his apartment, lifted the mattress up. And I'm not joking, there's about 20 grand. It just $20 notes everywhere, just everywhere. I was like, what? I could have took a big handful. He would have noticed. And I'm like,
Right.
this was after about a couple of days. I'm like, what is
Wow.
going on?
Yeah.
And I said, "Mate, you've got to stop this." I'm like, "This is mad," but it was scary at the same time because this is dangerous. Because he reached out to someone in the local town who was one of the biggest dealers in the whole of this, and before you know it, I saw this lad, this fella, my mate, literally completely change within weeks. And I had to go back home. I said, "I can't work here." I didn't tell him why. And I said, "I need to go home." And I left. I said to my boss at the job, I said, "I need to go." And he said, "What for?" I said, "Oh, I've got stuff at home." And I left for like 3 months and I come back. And my mate was still there and he's black under his eyes. His eyes were sunken in. He was like evil. And I was like, I'm not going to say his name,
Right.
but evil. This was my friend and I knew him like the back of my hand, right? He was a good lad. He just thought, "Oh, I'll make a few quid." He looked like a demon. Even I was scared of him. And I say his name was Sean, for example. I went, "All right, Sean, mate." And he turned around and he just looked at me like I was nothing. And then he sort of flipped. He went, "Oh, all right, Travis, where have you been, mate?" But he looked at me like
Yeah.
evil. I thought, "You're scary." It's only because I could still see a glimpse of who he was. That's why I wasn't scared of him. And when I went to the apartment, he had all these men around him, big, scary men. I'm like, who have you turned into? Long story short, he ended up becoming a huge, huge, huge heroin dealer within
Wow.
a case of a couple of years. I think he's dead now because he
Right.
ended up getting murdered. But it just, all because of one little moment. It destroyed him because he couldn't
Yes, sir.
stop. He couldn't get out of this. He was caught up in the
Right.
web. and he couldn't get
Well,
out. So he's like you getting high in his own supply, making his money, but it's like this loop, what a vicious circle. You can't
it's
get out
very
of it.
vicious.
So that's
So it is.
kind of sort of when you're telling me your story, it's kind of similar. You're getting into this web now, and it's you can't just walk out of it because you're playing with knives. Basically, is that a fair assumption?
Yes, sir. Very fair. I would say it is a very vicious cycle. Because like you said, sometimes overnight you can just go from not having any money in your pocket to having a couple, 300 or 400 to even a couple thousand, and the work is not nothing physical. It's and you're perceived to have all these new friends, and it's just a life of a cycle that you can never predict or you can never see yourself really getting into until you are too deep into it. Um, then you look back and you're like, wow, well, this is all I know, and now I have X amount of dollars and all these friends. So why stop? You know, but it's a vicious cycle.
So
And
obviously,
I
it's
would have
gonna.
to say there was a time in my life where I I was I was ashamed to look in the mirror as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you still have that essence of
There's-
who you are. Because deep down, you've got a good heart, but you live in this life, and there's this
right,
separation. Yeah, and but
definitely.
again, how does that little boy, that innocent boy, he wants to sort of get out of it at a certain level, but who does he go to? Because he knows if he goes to his grandparents, they're going to shout. They've got shame. They've got anger against him. So he's like, well, what do I do? A rock or in a hard place? Where do I go? So it's easier just to carry on, is it? Did
It is, and you kind of learn to just numb those those feelings or those that consciousness thought of this is not right or this could lead to trouble. You kind of just learn to numb that to the sense of putting it on the back of your mind so far that you accept that type of lifestyle and embrace it. And it's so rapidly popular now. I feel, especially here in America, where younger people look up to that type of lifestyle.
again, it's the same reasons that you did. Um, Same thing, isn't it? They want
Yes,
They want to be important. They want to be valued. They want to be worthy. They want to be important. They want to be
yes,
seen. And again,
that's
but
right.
this happens in. This doesn't happen in broken families. This happens in. You could be brought up and you've got really loving parents. You can still get caught. You can be pulled in again.
Yeah,
But
it does not discriminate.
yeah,
I mean, I've seen people. I've gone to people's house that have 5 or 6 bedroom homes and bigger three-story homes and sat around done drugs with them. I've gone to people that are in downtown projects and done drugs with them. It doesn't discriminate, and middle class, low class, high class, addiction is addiction, and it can overtake you without you ever even noticing it. Um, that that is the sad part of it, I think. Um,
so, Thomas, what would you say? I'm trying to choose the right words because what words you use. But when you were, they call it grafting in England. That's what they call it when you're dealing. They call it grafting. Like I say, they use words so it doesn't sound bad, right?
yeah,
But again, it obviously is. So you're going through this phase in your life. You're dealing. How long is it before? Because you're on like a bit of a roll here. You think, okay, I'm managing this. I'm taking some coke, but I'm sort of managing it. I'm on top of it. I've got a bit of a routine going. When does that routine sort of subside and you think, oh, now I'm getting attention from other drug dealers and the cops. When and how
Yeah,
long
so
is it
that,
before this happens, and how does it change?
okay, so like I mentioned, I think we stopped about 17 or 18, which at this time I had just got my scholarship revoked from basketball. And my dad had a trucking company. And up to this point, I really didn't know my dad, but he came into my life and knew what was going on. And he suggested that I move with him to another state and get my act together. And I agreed. I moved down to where he was living, and it was pretty rocky with me and him in our relationship. At that time, I'm 18 years old and feel like I'm a grown man now. I've been on my own, made some bad decisions, but I was paying my own bills and had my own place, had my own vehicle, and now I try to move in with my dad, who is at that time trying to make up for his loss of parenting, I felt like, while I was younger. So me and him, like I said, bumped heads quite a bit. And I moved in with a guy that had a roofing company and was working for him. And I accidentally fell off a roof and straddled a metal prong on a ladder vader and ended up having a colostomy pouch for 22 months at the age of 20 to 21. And that, Mr. Johnson, was probably my first episode of knowing what real depression was. And although I wasn't really doing much drugs at that time, I fell into a deep depression and isolation of myself from others. And actually went back to doing some cocaine and that was probably, like I said, that was my first episode of just depression, just not wanting to be me, hating life, wondering why me, why am I in this position I'm in? Could barely walk at the time. A colostomy pouch at that age is very, very embarrassing. So I made it through that and actually found or met the woman who I thought I would live the rest of my life with. We proceeded to have a relationship, and after a few years, that got kind of rocky as well. And during one of our times of being separated, I was introduced to methamphetamines. And the same night that I was introduced to that, I was shown how to make it or manufacture it. And that was a very, very bad decision on my part, Mr. Johnson. I also found out that the woman that I spoke of was pregnant with my child, and ended up having a beautiful baby girl. I only have one child, and when she was born, I swore that I would quit everything, but I was already hooked on the drug of methamphetamines. And police, this was the first time in my life that I was actually on a police radar or known to the cops, and they did raid my house. Um, and I was guilty of possession and manufacturing methamphetamines and was sentenced to 42 months in prison.
That must have been hard when
And
now you're a dad. You've just had this beautiful
yes, sir.
little child, and it's like wow.
Correct.
And at the same time,
I,
this happens. So if
growing up, I swore if I ever had any children, I would not raise them in a broken home
yeah,
because of my situation as a kid. Sure enough, I'm falling in that same pattern, you know, um, raising a kid in a broken home or a split parent home, and that was heavy on my heart too. Um, and I regret that, but I did. Even in my addiction, I have to say that I was still very involved in my daughter's life. Um, so I got out of prison the first time, and I swore everything was going to be different. I was going to be a bigger man. I was going to be a better man. I was going to be a father that she deserved. And have my own place again, doing well. And my daughter is about 8 years old at this time. And there's a confrontation where a guy actually put his hands on my daughter. And me and some buddies went over there to talk to him about it. And as he ran after us with a bat, um, he ended up getting shot, and he died. Um, and I tell this story because if I was in my right frame of mind, I don't feel like I would have handled it the way that it was handled. Um, but methamphetamines has a way of not allowing you to sleep very well, and your mental stability is very, very low. So when that happened, I was not thinking very rational. My first thought was to go do harm to somebody that put his hands on my daughter.
I think with that, mate, this is your pride and joy. The only
Yes,
this is the only thing that's pure in your life. Okay, because
exactly.
all out throughout your life, you've always felt unwanted, insecure. No one listened. Then the drugs and the mental health and the trauma and the depression. And suddenly this little beautiful little girl. If someone touches that, you're gonna act crazy, aren't you? Even if you weren't in the right frame of mind, that would put you in a different frame of mind. So in a way, I think people can understand that.
Yes, to a degree, I think.
Yeah,
But looking back, hindsight, yes, I think if it happened again today, I would definitely handle it different,
yeah.
um, because I got rearrested and did another 7.5 years in prison for that.
Was,
Um,
was that classed as manslaughter for that, or
yes, sir.
because 7.5 years?
Yes, sir. And
Yeah,
the reason I emphasized I would do something different is because during that 7.5 years, there was times that my daughter definitely needed me, and
yeah,
I just couldn't be there, and that's another example of that power of presence I spoke of earlier.
yeah.
Um, it's so vital that kids growing up have somebody that they can turn to when they just don't understand life. Um, and I feel that's for both parents, not just a dad or a mom. But yeah, I mean it's tough raising kids, but yeah, I did the 7.5 years and got out, and once again swore that my life is going to be different. I'm going to do things different. I've had enough. And I moved to a different city away from any of the previous cities I had lived in, and figured I would start over, as they tell you, you got to get away from your people, places, and things, right?
Absolutely.
Uh, Let me tell you, Mr. Johnson, there's drugs everywhere,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
and my addiction was so strong that after about 3 months of doing well, I I was looking for drugs again. Um, and I figured, well, I'll be okay as long as I don't sell them.
Mm.
I just do it here and there and get me by. But I felt like I had the greatest gift and the greatest curse of kind of like your buddy. He always met the big dope dealer and became good friends with him. And as I proceeded to live on my own away from everybody else, I became friends with a rather large drug dealer that that I didn't really understand the capacity that he was in until, like we mentioned, it was too late. It was already I was already comfortable in that situation again, you know. And it's so that vicious cycle that you mentioned, as you can see, it evolves so fast that you don't really even understand where you're going until you take that deep breath and you're like, man, here we go again. you know. Um, so my daughter is a little bit older now. She's she's about 17 or 18, and she has her first kid, and it's a beautiful daughter, or her beautiful daughter. It's my first grandbaby, and as I mentioned, I became good friends with a rather large drug dealer, and he told me, he said, I've been doing this for a long time. He said, but you're the only one that I can recall that never tried to get over on me. And that kind of set with me wrong, because I felt like, Mr. Johnson, that even through my addiction, even through the guys I mess with, I still had some values and some morals and some standards I held myself up to, as far as, you treat people right, and they would treat you right, or you would, if you tell somebody something, you stood by that. You know what I mean?
So on that, would you say that it's that famous saying, "There's no honor amongst thieves"? So there's no loyalty. So what that guy was saying, he said, "You're the only one who hasn't tried to
Right.
sort of, hey, or try to take advantage of my position or steal from me." And that's what it meant. So in your experience, which you've got a lot of, do you see a lot of that? That when you're at the top, someone's always going to try and take you down. Do you see that a lot?
There is uh, more so than not,
Yeah,
gotta say. It's very yes, sir.
yeah,
It's in a sense, you have to look out for more so for the people that are in that lifestyle, more so than you do the police. I feel like
yeah,
um, the other people in that lifestyle, they can get over, they can get mad over the smallest thing and either turn you in, or, like I said, rob you, or just do something very dirty to you that you can't picture them doing, because you wouldn't do that yourself to somebody. Um, I've had instances where I went out of town and come back, and yeah, and my house has been broken into. Um, but only maybe two or three people knew I was not going to be in town. So that's not random, you know.
no.
Um, but everybody swears they're your best friends. You can count on them, and but the bottom line is they only want what you have. what you can offer them. Um, once once the drugs run out, or actually when you stop having a place for them to crash at, or you don't have any money to lend them, then it becomes very lonely. You realize that that's what your associations with other people is from. It's not from that they care about you, or they want to see you do better. It's what you can do for them most of the time.
Were you quite financially secure then? Because you were obviously you were making a lot of money. So with that money comes, let's say, friendship, but it's like you say, it's not. But you'll get people sort of to hover around you. Oh, you're right, and suck up to you and what trying to get in with you because they want something from you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Very much so. So so as I kept going on this venture, as I met this guy, he was like I said, very very respected, I guess, in that nature of living. And I remember he called me one morning, early in the morning, and he said, "Man, I need you to come by the house." I said, "Okay, I was going to come see you anyway today." And he said, "No, I need you to come now." I said, "Okay." So I get in my car and I go over to his house, and he's at his dinner table, and he's crying. And this is a guy that you would not, I would never picture this type of scene playing out, because he was a rather, I guess you'd say, kind of a roughneck biker dude. Just a very very tough mentality. And I said, "Buddy, what's going on?" And he said, "Look, man," he said, "the feds put a warrant out for me." I said, "Warrant? When did this happen?" And he said, "Well, just before I met you, this was okay." So I had been dealing with this guy for about 9 months. And he said, "Man, just before I met you, the feds raided my house and caught a lot of dope in my house." He said, they let me out, and I've been moving place to place trying to evade them. And they didn't issue the warrant until now." And I said, "So what's going to happen?" And he said, "Well, I have to go do about 20 years." And I'm still like trying to process this, right? Because this just doesn't seem possible to me. I never would have pictured it. So I said, "Well, okay." He said, "Listen, I want you to go in there in my room and get the duffel bag." And he said, "That's yours." I said, okay. And I go in there and proceed to get the duffel bag, and I look, and it is packed full of drugs. My heart drops, Mr. Johnson, because I'm like, "Oh, wow, what I do?" You know what I mean? Um, I said, "Okay." And he said, "I don't want no money from it." He said, "Matter of fact," he had about $36,000 on his table. He said, "I need you to take this money and get money orders, $5,000 every day, and send it to my mom until it runs out." And I'm scratching my head. I'm like, I cannot believe this is going on. You know what I mean? Like, just when I thought I had got that part of my life over with, I just wanted to do a little drugs for here and there, party every now and then maybe. Yeah, here I am handed 6 pounds of methamphetamines and don't owe a penny on it. So, so here I am. I go back to my place, and I'm sitting there on my bed, and I'll never forget, Mr. Johnson. I'm sitting there on my bed, and I don't know what to do, but at the same time, my addiction is so strong, it overtakes me to the point of just saying, "You know what? Just run with it. You're going to be okay." And this goes on for about another 6 months, and I'm starting to meet people at this new city I'm in. selling these drugs. I'm making trips out of town to go get more frequently.
And just a quick one,
And
mate. Sorry to interrupt you. £6 of methamphetamine. What's the street value for that amount of?
at this time, it was about 6,500 a pound.
Right.
So let's say six. So about 36, about 38,000, forty
Wow.
thousand dollars worth of drugs.
And it's yours basically.
It's mine.
Right.
And yeah. So, and he actually called the dealer that he was getting it from out of town, and you know say, hey, I have to go do some time. I want you to mess with my buddy here when he needs more. So that made the connection of me and the guy out of town. Which, like I said, I started making frequent trips from where I was at to out of town to buy more drugs. And it just became a very, very um, casual event for me at that time. And it almost got to the point where I didn't see anything wrong with it, which is very crazy if you think about it, because there's so many things wrong with it. You know what I mean? Um, and so I'm traveling back out of state one time after about 8 months of doing this, and I have some drugs on me and another gun, and get pulled over and searched, and get arrested again for a gun and trafficking methamphetamines, and get sentenced to 42 more months. And this is actually in a different state, and it's actually in the state where my mother is at. So this is pretty wild. They sentenced me to 42 months, but to get out early, I have to have a parole address in that state. And I get in touch with my mother, my biological mother. And like I said, only a handful of times have we really met in this period, up to this time. And I said, Mom, I need to come live with you. Now, keep in mind, all the money and all the stuff that I had accumulated pretty much was gone on lawyers. Um, I mean, most of the stuff that was in my house when I did get arrested got thrown out. Um, there was quite a bit of drugs in there that a buddy of mine, so-called buddy, came and got, and was supposed to give the money to my daughter for doing it, but he disappeared. Um, so anyway, I get out, parole out, and go live with my mother, and that doesn't go too well either. We are not seeing eye to eye after not knowing each other for so many years. And I started a little landscaping company, thinking that this is what I enjoy. This is what I like. I really haven't had too many jobs up to this point legally, and it starts doing pretty well. Um, it's just a one man show job that I take pride in doing, and I happen to once again meet somebody that has methamphetamines. So once again, that takes over, but I'm still focused on trying to do my landscaping company. And this is about year 2022, 2023 is coming up on us. And since all this has happened, my daughter has another son. So I have a grandson. And I recall It was February of 2023, Mr. Johnson, that I got a phone call from my daughter. She tells me, Callie's dead, Dad. And that's my granddaughter. Out of the blue. Now you have to keep in mind that this is my landscaping company. I don't have to answer to nobody. I don't have a boss. I don't have an office. I don't have nothing. It's just me cutting grass, making a little bit of money. So I tell my daughter, I'll be right there. She lived about 5 hours from me. Mr. Johnson, my addiction was so strong that I could not go see my daughter, the joy of my life, until I went and got me some drugs. So that 5 hours turned into a 14-hour adventure for me to get to where my daughter was, where she needed me the most. And that weighs so heavy on my heart now that I was that caught up that I could not go there before I got some drugs. So I get to where she's at, and she would not contact me for 3 days. I text her, I called her, she would not answer. And I stayed in that hotel room using drugs, trying to numb my thoughts and my feelings instead of trying to be the man and the father and the grandfather I should have been. I remember I got a text from my daughter letting me know where the funeral was. So I arrive at the funeral home, and this is the first time that I've seen my daughter since since all this happened. I'll never forget, Mr. Johnson. I hugged my daughter, and I whispered to her, "Baby, I do not know how you feel. I cannot imagine what you're going through." My daughter pushed away from me, and she wiped her eyes. She looked me dead in the eyes. She says, "Yes, you can, Dad." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You lost me a long time ago to drugs." And let me tell you, that's the first time I ever heard my daughter say anything negative to me, anything bad to me, any type of hurt about my lifestyle was that time. And I went back to the hotel, Mr. Johnson, and I just stared at that ceiling, laying in that bed, and I wondered if life would be better without me. For the first time, after all that traumatic experience I shared with you, that was the first time I ever really thought about suicide. And all those friends that I mentioned, all those associates I talked about, I didn't have one person I could call. I felt so lonely, man. And that was the hardest time I've ever experienced, was staying in that hotel room, just wondering if life was really worth it. Where have I gotten myself? Look at me. Look, I'm such an underachiever. I had all these negative thoughts going through my mind that I just felt like life isn't even worth living. You know what I mean? And I contribute that to my drug use, and I contribute that to my careless and reckless attitude of just not caring, you know. So yeah, I actually dropped to my knees that night, and I made a promise to myself, to my granddaughter, that I would be a bigger man, better man. And I know she heard me. She was she was precious. She was the type of she was the type of she was the type of kid that would run up to anybody and you could just feel the love from her attitude.
It's obviously hard because this is someone you love. The lifestyle you had, it was almost that you had no choice. You were sort of just pulled into it because when we first started talking, you just wanted love, and the only thing that you really had, the only love that you had, was your daughter and your granddaughter.
That
Everything else was a sort of a lie, an illusion, wasn't it? And like you said,
it was
so
it's almost like living a fantasy book lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like my heart was in my family. My heart was wanting to do better, but in my fantasy life, I was trying to be somebody that I was never built to be like. I wasn't made to be that scar face, you know. And excuse me.
again, it's when we say when you're younger, you're impressionable. You think it's real. Scarface isn't real. It's we know that now. We're like, oh, it's acting. It's some guy's written a story, and these actors get told what to do, and it's all cameras and that's not reality. That's not how it works.
No, sir.
Yeah.
And you know, so I have over 14 years of incarceration, and that's a lot of my life that I've lost, and that I was programmed my emotions and my feelings to never even share. Um, you know, I was taught early on in my prison life that a man doesn't cry. A man doesn't let anybody know that they're sad, that they're hurting. You know, that's another facade that you have to display at all times when you're in there. I've had some traumatic experiences while incarcerated. For instance, my bunkmate was stabbed 27 times and died right under me. Um, you know, and it's, it's pretty wild how everybody's rock bottom is different. Uh, Me and you can go through the same thing, and that could completely change your life. Or I could keep on the same path as you see that I did for so long, and people would be like, wow, he just hasn't had enough. But I can tell you, when my granddaughter died, and I actually had that reflection time to look at where my life was and how much drugs had just made me an underachiever in life and a lot of things. That was the biggest wake up call I can say I've ever had, Mr. Johnson. And there's a lot of mental health that I went through that I numbed and I disguised through my drug use that I really didn't even know it was mental health issues until I decided I was going to change my life. And that's when I really realized, wow, I got some mental health issues now. It's like I have all these feelings and these thoughts and these emotions now that I can numb before that I can't numb now, or I refuse to numb now.
Mm.
So that's a real reality check. Um,
It's it's like years ago. The world's completely changed now when it comes to mental health and the men like talking. It's accepted now. It's encouraged, which is good because years ago, even 15 years ago, you don't talk about, but you get on with it. That's what it's like.
right.
When I was a
Yes.
teenager, I knew something was wrong with me. I was like a sort of depressed, but I didn't know what the word depressed means. And you don't speak to anyone; you just get on with it. And
Correct.
how do you, when you're feeling depressed, you either suppress it, so you get angry at yourself, or you get angry at the world. But you don't talk to people because there's no one to talk to. That's one good
Exactly.
thing about now is that, right, we're aware now that we're human beings and we have emotions, and if we keep them in, we're gonna have to. They need fixing. So people take drugs. I'll take drugs, but that's not curing it. That's making it worse. Doing
Yes.
this,
Yes.
having these
Right.
conversations, getting upset, crying. It's like, this is good. You're getting all this poison, this trauma out instead of
Yes.
keeping it
Sir.
in.
I
Because
agree.
if you
And I
could,
wish I knew the science. I wish I knew the science behind that. But you're exactly right. It is very therapeutic to
yeah,
be able to release that. And that's I think that's what led me to writing. Um, I've learned to just spill my emotions and my thoughts onto paper now,
yeah,
um, and that has led me to actually publishing two books now, which is something I'm very proud of. But it's very therapeutic,
and
and
Thomas, have you got the book with you there? Because we were saying at the beginning of the video, you've published a book.
so I have two. This one,
Can you just bring it closer? Hang on, mate. Let me let's get a
right
bigger.
there we go.
There you go. Recovery. Just lift it up for me, mate. There you go.
It's
Recovery
called
spoken
Spoken
word.
Word,
Yeah.
and this is a collection of recovery poems that I let me read one to you here. Um, so it says the work God does in waiting. Waiting once felt like punishment, like being forgotten in a quiet room, while everyone else moved forward. But God taught me that waiting is not delay, it is development. In the waiting, he rewired my thoughts, softened my anger, and taught my heart how to trust without evidence. Recovery happened, not when answers came, but when peace arrived. Before they did, now I understand God often works longest on the things he plans to last. Um, so these are 30 poems that I wrote, and most of them are faith, have to do with my recovery with faith and surrender, which is a big, very, very, very good key to my recovery. Um, and that's like I said, that's spoken word
And where's that available? Where can we get that?
on Amazon.
Right. Okay.
And then so this one is the newest one, and it's called Still Standing, and it's the lessons of addiction and mental health, and not giving up. And it deals with so there's 7 principles that I came up with that I feel like every person should have. But yeah, this is This is the newest one, and it's available on Amazon as well.
Okay.
Um, and I do have a third one that I should have out. So none of them are really a memoir, I guess you could say, yet. And people have asked me why I have not done one of those yet. But like I shared when we first started, Mr. Johnson, I want my story to be more about hope instead of my struggles in the past now. So whenever I do write my life story in a book, I want people to read it and say, wow, look how far he's come. Look where he's going.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to ever say that, man, he's one breath away from going back to that. You know what I mean? I want them to know that I am a changed man, and I have so much hope and so much ambition now to just do better, just to be better.
And
And
you're
not let my addiction.
you're completely clean now.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So April 21st of last year, so almost a year.
Wow, that's so all your life you've been, well, most of your life you've been subservient to that drug or them drugs, and now you're like, now you're in control, and
Correct.
that's amazing. How's life now then? That through
Man, it's better than I ever thought life could be. Really,
yeah,
it's better than I pictured. So I'm at a Denver rescue mission. It's a program called New Life Program.
yeah,
There are some amazing people here. I mean, amazing. And they have taught me more than I could have learned on my own. They accepted me with a non-judgmental attitude, and the care and the love of somebody actually embracing you that just never even met you is amazing. And it's something that if you really want it, they will offer you the tools to get it. You know what I mean? And they have been it's just been a blessing, Mr. Johnson.
yeah,
I every morning I pray that I can just surrender to God's will and stay humble in my recovery.
yeah,
And that has helped me so much. And I was never really a spiritual person before this, but every day I contribute my recovery to my faith in God. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like it's stronger than my addiction. God's will.
That's what this says in the Bible. It says, "Don't lean on your own understanding," which basically means
Right.
you can't do it on your own. It tells you in the Bible, "Don't lean on your own understanding." That means talk to me.
Obviously, my way didn't work.
It's good, isn't it? It is good. God is good. It's like when I speak to people, every time they've got through trauma, addiction, stories that you've experienced, similar ones, the only way they've got out of it is not by self-development, it's by God, because they can't do it. I know you're conscious of your time, Thomas. Just one quick question. How's your relationship with your daughter now?
Great.
Oh, that's
And
good. That's
check
good.
this out. My parents actually got married less than a year ago. They got married again
Yeah.
after 47 years of being
Oh,
separated.
wow. See?
And my daughter tells me every day how proud she is of me.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. See,
Yes, sir.
look, it turns around, doesn't it? Completely. But no,
Complete circle.
it does. Life's, see, I know you've got to go because we've only got an hour and a half with you. And we've done an hour and a half, so I know I'm aware of that. But thank you, Thomas, for sharing your story. Really appreciate that. It's quite very moving. But again, you can tell you've got a good heart. Yeah, your mind was in the wrong place. Not your fault, mate. That was your environment, the way you were brought up. You've got a valid excuse, a reason for why you did that. You were a kid. You didn't know better, but you always had a good heart. And that's why you, like in your own words, you said, this isn't me. I'm not this Scarface,
Exactly.
which you always knew. And what did they say? God sees your heart. But again, mate, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And again, guys, if you want to buy the book or books, because there's more than one of them, get on there. Okay, it just shows you about addiction and how powerful it is. It literally, it's like when he said, "Oh, today I'm going to change my life," and then he's back on it again. And then, no, this time I'm going to change my life. Back on it again. We've got to understand what addiction is. Fortunately, at the very end, there was one time that Thomas actually said, right, that is it now. And again, the only way he could do that, in his own words, is through something bigger than himself, which is spirit, God. You can't do it on your own. And he spent his lifetime suffering. And for what, really? But on a positive note, everything's about to change for him, because he's changed himself. He's changed his bad associations with all them other kinds of characters. So it just shows you, crime, it doesn't get you anywhere. It just takes you and destroys you. But until next time, guys, take care. Look after yourself.